What would you do if you had to choose between your dream job and doing what's right? Ethan Carter was faced with that very choice, and his decision could change everything. Stick around to see how one man's values were tested and what he did when corporate greed tried to steal a dream. You won't want to miss this. Before we dive into this inspiring story, let us know where you're tuning in from. If you love stories of courage and making tough choices, hit that subscribe button. We've got another powerful story coming your way tomorrow that you won't want to miss. Let's get started. In the small, quiet town of Redwood Falls, Ethan Carter was the kind of man who believed in simple pleasures. A mechanic by trade, he ran his own shop, Carter's Auto Repair, on the corner of Main Street. His hands, weathered and strong from years of working with engines, were as familiar with tools as they were with kindness. Ethan wasn't just known for fixing cars. He had a reputation for breathing new life into old machines. The kind of cars that others saw as scrap, Ethan saw as a canvas. His work was meticulous, turning rusted frames into sleek, powerful machines that seemed to carry the soul of their original owners. Ethan's garage was his sanctuary, a place where he could lose himself in the hum of engines and the scent of motor oil. It wasn't just about cars for him, it was about giving something back to the people in his community. Among the many faces that came through his doors, one stood out. One particular morning, Sophie Taylor. She was a young woman in her 20s, her legs immobile from a car accident years ago. Sophie had always dreamed of driving, but now it seemed like an impossible wish. Ethan knew deep down that helping her might just change everything. Sophie had come to Carter's Auto Repair on a quiet Tuesday morning, her wheelchair rolling slowly into the garage as she surveyed the rows of cars in various stages of restoration. Ethan noticed her right away. There was something in her eyes, a mix of awe and longing, as she looked at the cars as if she could almost hear them calling to her. Ethan set down the wrench he had been holding and walked over. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice warm but steady, like a man who had spent his life fixing things, whether it was cars or people. Sophie's eyes met his, and for a moment there was silence. She smiled softly. "I've always loved cars. I used to go with my dad to car shows when I was younger, back when I could still drive myself," she said, her voice tinged with sadness. "But after the accident, well, things changed. I've always wondered if there was any way I could ever drive again." Ethan glanced at the wheelchair, then back at Sophie. He had seen the pain in people's eyes before, but this was different. Sophie wasn't just grieving for something she had lost. She was holding on to a dream, a hope that seemed unreachable. "I don't see why not," Ethan said, a spark of determination lighting up his face. "What if I could build you a car one that you could drive yourself?" Sophie looked at him stunned. "You mean build a car for me? But I don't even know if that's possible. I can't move my legs. How could I possibly drive?" Ethan smiled, a glint of passion in his eyes. "If anyone can figure it out, it's me. I've spent my life fixing broken things. A car might be a bit more complicated, but if you're serious about it, I'll take it on." Sophie's heart skipped a beat. The idea seemed impossible, yet something in Ethan's confidence made her believe it could be real. A dream she had long since put away now felt like it might be within her grasp again. "I'd love that," she said softly, her voice filled with hope. "I'd really love that." And just like that, Ethan had a new project, one that would change both their lives forever. As the weeks passed, Ethan worked tirelessly on the car. Every day after finishing his regular repairs, he would retreat to the back of the shop where the frame of Sophie's custom vehicle slowly began to take shape. It was nothing like any car he had ever worked on before. This was going to be something special. Ethan was designing a system that would allow Sophie to control the car using hand-operated controls, a combination of electronic and mechanical features that would give her full autonomy behind the wheel. It was a challenge, to say the least, but with every spark of creativity, he felt his confidence grow. Sophie, for her part, visited the shop every few days, her eyes wide with excitement as she saw the car take form. Each visit seemed to fill her with more hope, as if the car was not just a machine, but a symbol of everything she had once lost and everything she could gain back. She couldn't wait to sit behind the wheel and feel the rush of freedom she had dreamed about for so long. But just as the car was nearing completion, the unexpected happened. One afternoon, Ethan was in the middle of wiring up the controls when the door to the garage opened, and in walked a man he had never seen before. Tall, sharp-dressed, and exuding the kind of confidence that comes with a lot of power. Ethan wiped his hands on his overalls and walked over, extending a hand. "Can I help you?" Ethan asked a bit, cautious, not used to visitors who didn't need a car fixed. The man smiled, shaking his hand firmly. "My name is Daniel Walker. I'm the CEO of Walker Automotive. I've heard about the work you've been doing here, and I have to say, I'm impressed." Ethan raised an eyebrow, slightly wary. "Thank you, but I'm just a guy in a small town fixing cars." Daniel's smile widened. "I'm not here to talk about cars. I've seen some of your work. I think what you're doing here with this project of yours could change the entire industry. I'm offering you an opportunity to join my company. Walker Automotive has the resources, the technology, and the reach to take what you've done here and turn it into something massive." The offer seemed like a dream come true. Daniel promised Ethan access to state-of-the-art facilities and a team of engineers who could help him revolutionize the car industry. But there was a catch. He would need to stop working on the car for Sophie. The very project that had sparked this offer would need to be handed over. Ethan felt a twinge of doubt. He had worked so hard on this project, and it meant the world to him and Sophie. But could he really turn down an opportunity like this? The offer from Daniel Walker weighed heavily on Ethan's mind. He spent sleepless nights staring at the unfinished car, running his hands over the delicate hand controls he had designed for Sophie. It wasn't just a project anymore. It was a symbol of everything he had ever believed in, giving people hope, helping those who needed it most, and proving that even the smallest person could make a big difference. But Walker's offer was tempting. The chance to work with one of the biggest car companies in the country, to have access to top-tier resources and state-of-the-art technology, this was the opportunity Ethan had dreamed of. It could help him take his passion to new heights, reach people on a larger scale, and perhaps even help more individuals like Sophie. Daniel had made it clear that there was potential for Ethan to continue his work helping others, that the car project wouldn't have to be the end of his mission. In fact, Walker's team could expand on it, turning Sophie's customized car into a production model for people with similar disabilities. It sounded like a perfect plan, one that would not only make Ethan's name known, but also make a tangible difference in the lives of thousands. But something didn't sit right with him. The more Ethan thought about it, the more he realized that the heart of the offer was rooted in profit. Daniel had never mentioned Sophie by name again. Instead, he talked about numbers, about the potential market for a universal design. Sophie's car, in the grand scheme of Walker Automotive, would simply be a product, one to be mass-produced, sold, and marketed to the highest bidder. Ethan's gut twisted. He had promised Sophie that this car would be hers, that it would give her the independence she deserved. Would joining Walker Automotive mean giving up on that promise? Would he be turning Sophie's dream into a commodity, something bought and sold for corporate gain? The more Ethan thought about it, the more he realized that his decision wasn't just about the future of his career, it was about staying true to his values. He didn't want to be part of an industry that valued profits over people. But turning down the offer from Walker Automotive could cost him everything: the security, the fame, and the resources he had worked so hard to achieve. Torn between the allure of success and his dedication to what was right, Ethan knew he had a decision to make. The question wasn't whether he could build the car, it was whether he could build a future where his integrity and the dreams of people like Sophie could coexist. After days of agonizing over the decision, Ethan finally made up his mind. He couldn't pass up the opportunity Walker Automotive had offered him. As much as he hated the idea of letting go of his personal project with Sophie, he knew that working with Walker could bring more than just personal success. It could be a chance to truly revolutionize the way cars were designed for people with disabilities. If anyone could make this work, it was him. So, with a mixture of excitement and doubt, Ethan accepted the job. He packed up his tools, said his goodbyes to the familiar faces of Redwood Falls, and left behind the small, quiet town he had called home. Walker Automotive welcomed him with open arms, showering him with resources and support. It didn't take long for Ethan to realize the scale of the opportunity. The engineers and technology he had access to were far beyond anything he could have dreamed of. He could see how, if he played his cards right, this could be his chance to leave a legacy that could change the automotive industry forever. But as the days turned into weeks, Ethan began to feel uneasy. It wasn't just the fast-paced corporate environment that unsettled him, it was the growing sense that his role in the company was less about innovation and more about pushing products for profit. And then one afternoon, the reality hit him. Sophie's family had received an offer from Walker Automotive. The car that Ethan had built for Sophie was no longer a personal project. It was now seen as a valuable asset, something that could be replicated and sold. The company was pressuring Sophie's parents to sell the rights to the design, offering them a sum that seemed too good to refuse. Ethan's heart sank. He knew what this meant. Walker Automotive wasn't interested in the car as a way to help people. It was just another product to be marketed and sold. His creation, Sophie's dream, was being stripped of its heart, its soul, and its purpose. He was faced with an impossible choice: continue to climb the corporate ladder, enjoying the rewards of his success, or stand up for Sophie, for the promise he made her, and fight to keep the car hers. Ethan knew one thing for sure: he couldn't let this happen. The dream he had built for Sophie couldn't become just another item on a balance sheet. The lines between ambition and integrity had blurred, and now it was time for Ethan to decide which path he would walk. As the days passed, Ethan found himself growing more and more disillusioned with the corporate world he had entered. Walker Automotive, once a beacon of opportunity, now felt like a cold, calculating machine. The work that had once ignited his passion now seemed to be driven solely by profit margins, with little regard for the people it was supposed to serve. Ethan had walked into this world believing he could make a difference, but he was slowly realizing that his ideals were being drowned out by the corporate agenda. The pressure to sell Sophie's car design had intensified, and with each passing day, the sense of urgency grew. Walker Automotive's executives were relentless, reminding Ethan of how much money they could make from mass-producing the car. They painted a picture of success, a world where Ethan's designs could change lives on a grand scale, where he could be a household name in the industry. But the more they pushed, the more Ethan recoiled. Sophie's face haunted him every time he walked into the office. He remembered her hopeful eyes as she watched the car take shape, the excitement in her voice when she had talked about the freedom she would feel behind the wheel. That was the reason he had built the car. It wasn't about selling a product. It was about giving Sophie back something the world had taken from her. It was about helping one person live a dream. The tipping point came when Ethan overheard a conversation between Daniel Walker and one of the company's top executives. They were discussing the future of the car design, speculating about the potential market, and debating how much money they could make by licensing it out to different disability organizations. There was no mention of Sophie, no mention of her dream. It was all about the bottom line. Ethan couldn't take it anymore. He knew that if he stayed, he would lose himself, his values, his passion, everything he had worked for. This wasn't the man he wanted to be. He wasn't some pawn in a corporate game. He was the man who had given Sophie hope, who had promised her that her dream would come true. In that moment, Ethan realized what he had to do. He had to stand up for what was right, no matter the cost. The dream he had helped Sophie build was not for sale. He would not let Walker Automotive take it from her. Ethan understood now that real success wasn't about fame or wealth. It was about staying true to his values and fighting for the people who needed him most. It was time to make a choice. Stand up for Sophie, stand up for his integrity, and fight for what was right. Or walk away and let everything he had worked for slip through his fingers. The decision was clear. The decision was made, and Ethan couldn't turn back now. He had worked too hard, fought too many internal battles, and come too far to let this opportunity slip away from Sophie, especially now that he had seen the true cost of corporate greed. He couldn't let Walker Automotive steal the dream he had built for her, nor could he let his own principles be compromised. Ethan knew what he had to do. One cold morning, Ethan walked into the glass and steel tower of Walker Automotive, a place that had once felt like the doorway to his future. Now it felt like a prison. He strode past the polished reception area, ignoring the curious stares of the employees, and made his way directly to Daniel Walker's office. Ethan knocked once before entering, his face set with determination. Daniel looked up from his desk, a smile spreading across his face as he stood to greet him. "Ethan, I'm glad you're here. I wanted to talk to you about the car's future. There's a lot of potential, you know." Ethan didn't waste any time with pleasantries. "I'm done, Daniel. I'm leaving Walker Automotive. I can't be a part of this anymore." Daniel's smile faltered, his brow furrowing. "What do you mean? We've barely even scratched the surface of what we can accomplish together. You've got the skills, Ethan. You've got the vision. You can be at the top of the industry." Ethan shook his head. "This isn't about the top of the industry, Daniel. This is about doing the right thing. You see that car I built for Sophie? It's not just a product, it's her dream. It's her freedom. And I'm not going to let you take that away from her. Not for money, not for anything." The room was silent for a long moment. Ethan's words hung in the air, heavy and unyielding. Daniel's expression hardened, but Ethan didn't flinch. "I'm not going to let you manipulate me, Daniel. I'm leaving," he said firmly, turning to walk out. As he reached the door, Daniel called after him, his voice low and cold. "You'll regret this, Ethan. You could have had it all." But Ethan didn't look back. The words had no power over him anymore. The weight of the decision that had once been so hard to bear now felt like the lightest thing in the world. He had chosen the right path. He had chosen integrity over greed, truth over profit, and he would never regret that. When he returned to Redwood Falls, Sophie was waiting for him in his garage, her eyes filled with hope. Ethan smiled, knowing that no matter what happened next, he had kept his promise to her. The car was hers. The dream was still alive, and nothing, not even the weight of the world, could take that away. Ethan had learned the most valuable lesson of all true success isn't measured by what you gain, but by the difference you make in someone else's life. And for Sophie, he had given her more than just a car, he had given her a future. Ethan's journey had taught him something powerful. Success isn't defined by wealth, status, or recognition. True success comes from staying true to your values, no matter the price. Throughout his struggles, Ethan learned that integrity, doing what's right even when it's hard, is far more valuable than any job title or paycheck. He had been offered the world, but in the end, it wasn't the world he wanted. The real reward was in giving Sophie the chance to live her dream and standing up for what mattered most. Ethan's story reminds us all that the greatest achievements are the ones that have a lasting positive impact on others. It's a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, we always have the power to choose what's right, and that sometimes the fight for what's right is the most important thing we can do. Enjoyed this story? Show some love by liking this video and subscribing for more content that'll keep you motivated. Leave a comment and tell us what would you do in Ethan's shoes. We'd love to hear your thoughts.